Hey guys, Reyfar here, and today I'm going to talk about Heat 14 probably pretty quickly, as my yellow light ruins the awesome artistic skills of Nomax. Was that how you pronounce it? I totally forgot. It was like literally 9 minutes. Nomax with their work done on the cover. It's a really nice kind of sunset themed piece to go with Slipwolf Story West. But as you can see, the colour of my room kind of ruins it. The wraparound cover's a bit. It's a bit of a showcase for the Slipwolf Story, with some art by Sabertooth Ermine. Yeah, Sabertooth Ermine. Oh, so I forgot to mention this at the start, so I'm going to cut this in here, but super shout out thanks to fucking Zia. ZMcCorgy555 on Twitter or something, I don't know, whatever. The guy, TJ Fell, the guy behind Save the Day and other stories. And yeah, so like, he was at FC, it was FC when it came out, right? And I messaged him like, oh hey, you know, if it's not too much a bother, can you get me a copy of Heat 14 and mail it out to me, because it'll be quicker than ordering it from Sofawolf, and he did, and then like he fucking totally blew me away by getting some of the things signed by authors and illustrations, so and getting a business card from Moogle, which I'll treasure wherever I put it, and yeah, so like, thanks man, I love it. And I didn't really want to fucking whatever the word I didn't really want to trumpet that too much, more so the signatures and stuff, like paraded about or something, I don't know. Yeah, so that's me cutting this in. Bye. So I tried talking about this about 10 minutes ago, and I kept stumbling and failing. I couldn't find my rhythm. So Heat 14, I guess, in general, is a really good anthology. It's definitely one of my more favourite Heats for a couple of reasons. And the reason why I guess it took me so long is because I just wasn't really in the mood for the stories, especially as I kept going through them. They were all fairly tragic stories with optimistic endings, somewhat. I think that's the recurring thing that kept just not bugging me, but just I kept facing as I went through these stories, and just because of that, I couldn't enjoy them as much personally, which says nothing about the stories, but more it's like, well, I feel like, so okay, I guess, you know, this is something I've been trying to think about for like weeks and weeks and weeks ahead, and like, you know, why the fuck have I not kept reading Heat 14? I've been battling this myself, like, well, because I want to do other things or whatever, and all of these excuses. And I think some of it, you know, I could stem with like, well, going up through Heat one after the other, I was getting a bit tired of it, and then I think one of the stories I was just, I think I stopped at a bad time and I lost kind of interest in it. And there's all these just kind of little stupid excuses, but I think the main one is just like, I just wasn't in the mood for reading all these stories with these tragic things happening, or these tragic revelations of characters. And I think I reckon I'll do a better job talking about it when I get back to it later. So maybe in a couple months' time, I'll give it another whirl, and I'll give a better in-depth discussion about it. And I think that's probably the best thing that I can do without feeling horrible, because I know people, well, more often than not, I'm assuming that the writers of these stories are going to watch this video, and then the rest of the people, they want to know what it's about. And then the other people, I don't know, but that's how I view my audience. So yeah, I feel super bad in both parties if I just like, well, you know, I didn't like this story or whatever. So I'm just going to talk pretty much what the story's about, and try not to get too bogged down towards the end. Like, I'm probably just going to give a decent setup about the story, and like, oh yeah, this is cool, I enjoyed it. but I don't think I could give anything wholly in depth, like, oh, I liked it for this reason, all that, because I sadly was just not thinking about it. I was just kind of just reading it on a weird autopilot. But yeah, so yeah, I guess going into it. So first up is before I forget, I did want to point out how much I love the fucking contents page in this one with the whole side on shots. I think it's a profile. I don't know if I have sick names. The whole kind of it just reminded me like a fighting game kind of line up with them all looking engaging or something. It's really cool. The mismatch of styles all work really well there. So I think props to probably what's that? It was probably Tegan Gavitt as layout designer that worked her magic there. So thanks, Tegan. So first up is Those Magnificent Women in Their Flying Machines by Darkhand, illustrated by the amazing work by Sophie Carrera. This story is actually a really cool one. It's a really fun kind of light comedy piece with some tragicness towards the end, like a lot of the stories. So it's set, it follows Alexa, who's this Arctic fox, who's part of the newly formed Women's Air Service, which, to my understanding, is like this unit that was primarily used to transfer aircraft between base and base, bases in America in World War II. And there was no combat roles or whatever, and that's the big thing that Alexa's facing, is that she wants to be out there on the front line, get her team of girls, and they all want to be behind her, and they want to make an effort in the war and prove that they're just as good as the men. And the story follows along with her, and how to put this, and the drama that unfolds as she goes cross-dressing as a man at this underground jazzy club in the small town near the airbase, and the schemes she tries to hatch to get one up on her commanding officer, who she thinks he's a bit of a bitch for some not for some reason, but a bit of a bitch. They don't get along. She doesn't think she's part of the team or whatever. Yeah, I quite like this one. I really liked Alexa as a character, and I really loved what was her name? Orchid. She was a lot of fun. There's a lot of scenes towards the end where it's like, yeah! I was really enjoying it as I'm going along. But I think one thing that cut down my enjoyment, I guess I don't want to bring it up, but yeah, no, it's really cool stuff. I think you should check it out. And yeah, though, okay, so one weird thing that kept bugging me is that there's a lot of mentions of Alexa and her long hair when she took the hat off, where it's kind of contradictory to the illustration, where it's more of a oh god, how do you describe styles choices and very hard, where in the artwork she doesn't really have hair, so like, yeah. It's a weird thing. I still don't know how to explain that stuff. Like, how everyone kind of thinks of what a furry character is. My idea of a furry character in my head is completely different to someone else's furry character. But yeah, there's some great illustrations, like this one here of Gillian and Alexa meeting up at the bar. Gillian's her commanding officer, by the way, a hair. Gillian's her commanding officer, by the way, a hair. And this awesome one of Orchid in her dress there. There's amazing little illustrations by Sophie Carrera. But yeah, there's a lot of great like comedic dialogue, and there's a lot of fun to be had with this story. Yeah, it was great. Like I do want to go back to it when I'm more in the mood. So next up is How to Ruin a Friendship by Kyell Gold, illustrated by Donryu. What train of thought? It's gone. I love this one. Like, I love Donryu's art, and I love Kyell Gold's writing, and yeah, this just I think a lot of my enjoyment with this comic, despite the story yeah, is just all these great facial expressions and the artwork that Donryu does. Like, even just those top two ones here of the possibly Lynx, possibly Bobcat character. They don't have names. I double checked, but so basically, this Bobcat / Lynx character and his wife or girlfriend, they're looking to have a baby, but obviously because they're hybrids they can't breed. So he asks his best mate, who's a rat just like his girlfriend, but he's like gay, and so basically he asks him to be like a surrogate parent in a fun and creative way, which ends up in like fun bedroom mishaps, which is cute. The one downside with this is like the whole time I was just thinking of Husky Tear's story, Signal Maneuver Turn. I think that's the name of it. In Anthology. Oh fuck, what was it in? Oh, Hot Dish 2. That's what it was in. Yes, which has a similar kind of circumstance, but it's different in ways. It's obviously it's a short story, and there's more stuff developed on, to say it in a diplomatic way, in the short story. But yeah, the whole time I was thinking of that, I'm like, no, I was like, oh man, I wish I read this comic before that, so then I could have it, kind of, that I hadn't read this story so recently or something like that. No, I really wish I had all the money in the world so I can buy all of Donryu's books and art collections and all that. I love that guy's style. Like, really, I just like the variants and body types that he does. And he seems a super cool dude too. Next up is Bad Connection by Crimson Ruari. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Illustrated by Mary Stick. I'll hold it up a bit longer. Actually, I love the illustration on the front page. It just seeps character. I really do love it. Again, it kind of tackles the similar subject of a couple trying to, well, not try, but trying to talk about the issue of, I think there's a possum in my roof. Trying to talk about the issue of having pups or cubs or whatever you want to use. And yeah, I do like this. I like it, Pete. I like this piece. It's definitely a more somber piece, and I do like it. It was very kind of, it was pretty chill to read. Like just to curl up and read it. It sounds kind of wishy-washy. It follows, who is it? Kyell, who's Chase, and he's trying to he's trying to broach the subject to his wife Kyell, who they've been married for a couple of years now, but she's very frosty about it, and he can't understand why. And he seeks advice from he's one of his longtime friends, and Rebecca, who's the African wild dog, and they used to date. And she kind of, she levels with him like, a proper person who's been in a relationship with someone where, they don't sugarcoat shit. What was this? He says he's like, what are her exact words? Chase, you always were kind of a bitch. You're so kind. But seriously, you were. You'd nag on things that should have left... But seriously, you'd nag on things that you should have left alone, and you wouldn't give folks the space they needed. You're impatient. That's a big part of why we broke up, you know. Yeah, she says later on, like, no, not fun to hear, is it? You need, it's really refreshing to see that. It's like someone just leveling with a character and just cutting the bullshit and like, you know what, this is your fucking problem, this is how I'm gonna help you out, and you know, this is how you like, if you really want to fucking approach this situation properly. But yeah, so I do love this piece for like this really strong character interactions and reality to the situation. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. To stop myself from going towards the semi-tragic revelation. It keeps popping up to pin it down. But no, I did. One other thing I did like is I did like the kind of how to put it, because Kyell's a paramedic, and that's one of the things that is kind of revealed that stresses her out, is that some of the shit she sees with her job, and she's worried how that's gonna kind of affect her in ways that she goes on about. In ways that she explains, and Chase takes it. Chase takes it like a properly responsible husband should. You know, it's cool. It's cool, and yeah, it's always nice to see stories that bring up how to put it, the issues and conflicts of I guess I'll probably, there's probably better words I could choose, but like the conflicts of humanity that you kind of see in jobs that could, you know, like paramedics or policing or child services or stuff where you're closer to people and the troubles they face in such high emotional circumstances. It's always nice to see those and get enough credit. Oh yeah, no, I do love this story. Oops, I forgot to mention, Chase is a Coyote G-Ship hybrid, so it's pretty cool. Like, the markings on his face is, it's nice, it's different, and there's like some brief kind of mentions about it over the end of the story, and yeah. Next up we've got, oh my god, oh, no, I didn't, shit. Okay, next up we got, Instincts, the poem by Tempe, illustrated by Dark Natasha, and I love this one. It's a nice, cozy, well, not really cozy, it's a nice, electrifying and exhilarating poem. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one about, POV poem from this character he's like, every instinct tells him to like kind of run and get away from this tiger they're with, and how like her instincts are shining through in their kind of sexual play. Yeah, no, it's super cool. Like, I loved it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And yeah, and how, like, you know, they can play with them together. Next up, so I'm gonna go get a drink. Next up, we've got West and the fucking amazing illustrations that are being yellow washed by my light. By Sabertooth Ermine. I keep thinking of another artist. That's why I keep just being like fucking dragging on about that name. Yeah, like, man, it was amazing. I don't know if they got their stuff up on the gallery, but if there is, like, I want people to see it in higher resolution, because it is really cool. So West is, in short, a really amazing story. It's definitely the selling story for Heat 14. That's what I'm talking about. Not just mostly my opinion, actually, because the rest of it's influenced by what I've kind of seen and heard by osmosis. Like, I heard a lot of chatter about West, and yeah, and not to mention for like probably the months and months, I've been wanting to read her Heat 14. And then by the time I got to it, I was like, yeah. But I've been wanting to read it, so I kept flipping through, looking at the pictures, and I'd always stop at the illustrations by Sabretooth Ermine and looking at the sexy tiger that I knew nothing about. And, you know, I just look at them like, oh man, he's so fucking hot on that picture, and then that one's hot. Like, just getting just too hot under the collar about him. And so the character I was building in my head was this completely different lion to the one that was in the story. Which is, of course, every lion in my head is typically a fantasy lion. So West is a really... It's a really intriguing story that follows Alex, who's on the run from house arrest from his family's home on the East Coast, in New York, somewhere on the East Coast. It's probably New York, and he's trying to go west as far and as fast as he can before he's noticed and all the law catches up to him, and the sedatives and drugs are wearing off, and he's trying to get more clarity, and he's starting to question whether he should really keep going west. And then he runs in with a pack of canine bikers who he rolls with for a lot of the journey, and it's headed up by this really cool character, corgi called Shortbread, who's got a Cockney accent, so he's from England. Where in England, I don't know. Okay, to break flow here, that's the one thing that I struggle with, is I know what a corgi accent, oh my god, what was it? Like, I know what a Cockney accent sounds like, but in my head, I have no Cockney accent, so I felt I was losing so much by not imagining what his dialogue sounds like in a Cockney accent, because I can't really replicate it in my head. So I think that needs to be rectified somehow. But yeah, no, it's amazing. And definitely a lot of enjoyment with this piece is going along with it and finding more and more about Alex and bits and pieces of Shortbread and the journey along the way. I wish I had more time to sit down with this story and really look at Slipwolf's writing style and pick it apart. I mean, this goes with probably everything in Heat 14. Is that's something I really want to do, is I really want to find the time for myself, not for anyone else, is to sit down and pick apart stories in an anthology and really just look at it and go through it. Because I think I'd approach a lot more from the story that way. So to avoid spoilers or anything, that's West. Read it yourself and be taken for the ride that is West, from East to West Coast or something. Also, it is set in the mid or late 70s. There was a pinpoint time period dialogue where what was it? Oh yeah, so so we talk Midwest. Fuck. Sorry, so this is a sentence that pinpoints the time period. We talk Midwest traveling favorite haunts and whether Carter or Ford would win the presidency in November. We talk Midwest traveling. Oh fuck, there's no comma there. We talk Midwest traveling favorite haunts and whether Carter or Ford would win the presidency in November. And I really wish, just for like dumb fucking fanic me, is that kind of pinpoint in setting or something was like that was brought to the opening of the story, because I wasn't really, not that it was necessary, but it would have been a lot more fun to have that marker towards the front. Say, okay, I know this is set in the 70s now, then I can start thinking about all these things that are going along set in the 70s. But that's just because I'm dumb. I mean, there may have been something at the start of the story where it's like a name or mention of something that's like, oh yeah, that was 70s, you know. If you say Gough Whitlam, what else is 70s to an Australian? Jimmy Barnes? No, yeah, Jimmy Barnes. Yeah, Jimmy Barnes is 70. What else? That's about it. Just Gough Whitlam and Jimmy Barnes and that one Vietnam really cool dramatized show, miniseries. I think it was called Vietnam or something. It had famous actor. Insert here. I really want to check it out. I watched it at high school, and then I rented it out from Video Easy like later on the school holidays, and I watched most of it, and there's so many good things in it, and I really want to check it out because it was a really cool thing, because it had it followed a bunch of characters, and it followed people in the theater, and then people back at home, and then people following all the peace movements, and it was really good, and it was obviously it's Australian, been set in Australia, but it's really cool. And then there's this really cool dramatized kind of thing about the sacking of Gough Whitlam, which is which is a CIA conspiracy. Gough Whitlam was sacked by the CIA. So that was West by Slipwolf. It's really, really cool. Just read it. Great artwork. So, moving on. We've got. We've got. I'll put it there. So, 3 foxes walk into the bar, written by Thurston, Howl, and illustrated by Kataf. And oh my god, so, I was having my own little fucking fanboy moment when I saw that Thurston Howl was in this. So, Thurston Howl Publishing, I think that's the name of the fucking company. But the guy seems like a super cool guy. He's a black wolf, I think, or something in the middle of America. I know he's not on the west or the east coast, so he must be in the middle somewhere. I totally forgot what state it was, but no, he seems like a cool guy. I hope to next time, whenever, I don't fucking know when, but whenever I make it over to America again, I hope to go to a con with him. He gave me to sign some of his stuff that's being published by his company. But no, it's really cool to see a poem by him, because I don't know if I've read anything by him. I think I've just read non-fiction essays by him, from the Fairies Among Us stuff. But I don't think I've read any stories by him. But no, this poem was great. It was a lot of fun. I loved the story it told in 5 stanzas. I think that's what's cool. And yeah, it was pretty fun. Maybe limerick style. I don't know how style the poem was, but it was a fun poem. It was great little fun illustrations by Kadaf. Look, okay, so that's one thing that I really love in Kadaf style is like the artist really has a really fun way to convey fear. So if I just hold my paw there, and so the fear on that character's face is just great. And yeah, so yeah, that's cool. I love it. Next up is Flame Above the Water by Kyma Zeigler. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce that name. With additional textures by Nobu. So I guess it's like the textures on the wood and the walls and stuff there. And this is another very pretty comic that I'd really love to see in color. Like I was thinking, I mean, not that you can fucking see much, but but I was thinking the other day, was it early today? I don't know. What day is it? I was thinking how I'd really love to see a Kickstarter from Sofawolf where they printed an issue of Heat in color. You know, because it sounds like they don't have enough work cut out for them with Heat getting it out yearly. I'm sure color would be no breeze. But no, I just, this comic is like, oh man, it'd be so cool in cover. Plus, I think it'd be really cool to see, like, you know, look, even if it cost like $150 US, I'd still pay for it. It might just be me. But I think it would be fucking amazing. Yeah, so Flame of the Water, Flame Above the Waves. Fuck, I hope I didn't pronounce it wrong the first time. It follows Timothy Cobb, who's this lighthouse keeper in the 1800s, 18th of May, 1817 to be exact, and he rescues what do you call it? Someone that went overboard on a ship, like a I don't know. A castaway in the waves, and he takes care of him in his lighthouse, and yeah, they grow a bond, and then he turns out to be a pirate. So Timothy Cobb is a sea otter, and oops, what was his name? And Owen Mansfield is a red fox, and yeah, it's like, hey, red fox pirate, and yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Like, I did love it. I think I like the art more than the story, to be honest. But the story is pretty cool. Like, I love a lot of the shit. It's really great. And the dialogue's really cool. Like, usually, oh god, this sounds so fucking horrible. Usually, comics, the dialogue's just kind of near, like, kind of, I don't know how to express it properly, but it's not as fun and cool and amazing as the dialogue in this. But yeah, it's cool. I love these facial expressions and the way that Owen's got his hair, and yeah, it's so cool. I love it. Boop, 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 boop. Like, oh, okay, so one thing I guess I was like fucking spoilers, is that, maybe it's just me being a fucking prick, but I was, like, so hoping for, like, John Cherry Owens Manfield, the pirate, to kind of just fucking leave him hanging, because he leaves it at, like, you know, if you want me back, leave your light on and I'll be back in a year. And I'm just like, I was so hoping for him to be like, he never came back. He's like, you'll see you, bye. Just be a dick of a pirate. But you know, pirates are gonna be sexy or something. I don't know. Oh shit, 30 minutes, fuck, moving on. Next up is Shell Game by Kandrel, illustrated by Alistair Wildfire. This one was super duper cool. And I think, well, not I think, I want to go back to it at a later date, and kind of pick through it and get, like, now that oh god, so okay, this is a stupid way to tell a story, but so I want to go back to it, knowing what I know, and then enjoying it and picking out all the little things and really going in depth with it, and just enjoying Kandrel's writing and the little things that I know him for, and how they, like, with the story and the plot and blah blah blah, because it's a really cool story. So the setting is very, very intriguing and interesting one. So okay, so the background is there's this planet, and there's, I think it was like a, I can't remember what it was called. If it was like a transport ship, or it wasn't like a it was a ship with 121 people, I think. Okay, so this ship with about 120 people on it comes across this planet that's desolate, destroyed, that's had suffered some kind of holocaust, where there's clearly what's the word, like remnants of civilization, but there's nothing there. It's all blasted, but it's incredibly mineral rich. So what the people on the ship decide to do is they decide to claim it and colonize it, but in order to mine the planet and extract all this wealth from it, they decide to clone themselves, and then they each kind of designate entire areas to themselves in sort of city-states, kind of, oh god, I forgot the word, like in a city-state kind of way. So because there's clones, there's so it follows Marcus Broders, who he's the Marcus Broders no title, who's the non-clone Mark. He's the original Marcus, and how, and it follows him along in oh god, and yeah, so he's the leader of the fucking city with all the other Marcus Broders clones, and you know, so he's, I think they're like a production focused city or whatever, and they're doing really well because there was a catastrophe at the Phillips city where they lost two highly skilled Phillips, or some, I think it was Phillips, I'm pretty sure it was Phillips, in some accident, and they're suffering a turnover in their production, so they're really picking it up, and yeah, it's this really intriguing setting, and this really intriguing story that goes along with it. And yeah, so Shogun is amazing. You should pick it up. I think, yeah, definitely West Cell Game, and there's definitely the highlights out of it. I might cut that out. I feel so bad picking favorites. Yeah. So, okay. So here's illustration without Nick. But I do love Alistair Wildfire's artwork here, with Marcus Broder at a board meeting with himself and a Phillips. Yeah, but I do love, there's a lot of really cool things, like every time in the story it's talking about a different Marcus. It has like open brackets, and it says like accountants, close brackets, like markets accountants, or markets what was kind of giving me like a weird fucking tickle, was it? like Marcus HR or employee relations or problem solutions. Oh no, Marcus Solutions. I think that was his title. And there's a really cool kind of like power fantasy thing going on with how like when he's driving around town, he gets special privileges, like all the lights are green ahead of time, and everyone gives way to him, like kind of in this kind of weird sci-fi kind of setting way. It's super cool. And yeah, no, I do love it, and the twist towards the end is amazing, which makes me want to look at it more because it's very kind of So next up is a comic by Ishaway, Full Dip, and this one is a really cute and charming comic where was I? Between like this interlude between Robin who's a rabbit and her partner, her partner Kyra, who's a cat, and I really warmed up to this art style as it went through, and just the emotion that seeped through the expressions and the variety of poses and as it went through, and just the nice angles of the artwork done. Yeah, it's really cool. Like, I do love it. I'm not sure what else to say. Yeah, it's cool. Next up is Top to Bottom, or Bottom to Top by Moogle, illustrated by Uina. Where is my post-it notes? I might need to use 2 post-it notes for that one. So it's lovely. I really love Una's artwork. It's so good. I think I always forget to look at their stuff. I do like the kind of, I guess, what would you say, oily? Oily kind of aesthetic they got going on, the blotchy kind of thing. But yeah, like this poem was definitely a lot of fun. And oh my god, I forgot where it was. So I forgot to mention that reading through Heat 14, I was using the cute, charming little business card that I got with it from Moogle, which I have fucking completely misplaced. I feel like I should look for it now. Shit, where did I put it? It's not under that. Ooh. I'm pretty sure it's in my desk drawer. Sorry, Mog. But I do love it. I'm like, like all these little trinkets I love. Yeah, no, this poem is, I read out of sequence probably a couple months ago at this point. He Mog tweeted out at me. He's like, what did I think of the poem, and like, oh, I hadn't read it yet. So I felt bad because he was saying that like he didn't get much feedback from it yet, other than like it was good, it was great. So I'm like, okay, I'll stop. I literally dropped what I was doing, and then like I went and read it. I'm like, because it's a poem, it takes 5 seconds. And it was really cool. Like, I love what he did with it. So like the theme going on is that look, I'm sure it has a name. So like when you read it down one way, like, oh man, it probably won't come out well on this. So so yeah, you read it round one way, but because the words have shadows, like mirrored shadows, so you can read it the other way from bottom to top, and it's really cool. Like it's this kind of dual perspective poem, and it works out like amazingly well. Like I mean, I'd like to sit down with him over voice or in person and like hear how he kind of constructed it. Like, how do you start something like that? Like, I reckon it'd be really cool to hear. Yeah, it's like definitely another one of the highlights from Heat 14. Plus, you know, it's a cool dog and a lion fucking as well. I mean, in the illustration, like, maybe you wouldn't know with the poem. Oh, man. See, okay, that's always the big question I have, is that, like, definitely the illustrations add to the... What do you call it? Fucking... The words on page. Fuck. The illustrations definitely add to the literature. But then the question begs to ask, it's like, well, is it her... Oh, God. So is the pairing and the genders of this relationship that's conveyed in the art, where it's not conveyed in the literature, is it something that's lacking from the literature, or is it just more of a supplemental thing? And that's one of the things that I still have no answer with going through it, but it's something that I definitely want to take the time and kind of write some kind of weird debate essay about, just for myself, is like, if I can make some kind of solid opinion that I can express properly rather than stuttering about it. Because I think it'd be definitely intriguing to hear about, at least to me. Plus, you know, and then on the flip side, it's like, well, how do you convey that what this illustration was conveyed, that the poem is possibly about a lion and a canine of some species fucking, that are both males. You know, is that intended of the poem or literature? Or is it not intended of the poem or literature? You know, yeah. Next up is Blue Collar Blues by Whyte, Yote, and Alpha Zero. And, this is, again, one of those, this is also one of those stories where I want to go back to it later, when I'm more in the mood or mindset or whatever. Because this one and the last one, I kind of, well, you know, I'm not kind of, I read through kind of just to get the Heat 14 off my plate, because I've been sitting on it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and it wasn't gonna get done any sooner if I just kept playing Hitman or whatever, or watching videos, and avoiding my imposed responsibilities. But I think it's definitely one that I'll garner a lot more from it by being a bit more empathetic between the characters. Because, I mean, right now, all I can say about it is really negative things. And I feel like that's a lot to do with me rather than the story. Because it's a nice story. I'm intrigued by the setting, I'm intrigued by the characters. It's just the overarching plot didn't really jazz with me. And I felt like that by the end of it, nothing had really happened. There was no arc. The characters had ended in the same way that they started. And ultimately, I felt like I missed the message to the piece. Which is a complete failing on my part. So yeah, that's that's really what I'm saying about Bleak Colors, and it sounds horrible, and I feel super bad about saying it. But I think it's better to say that than to lie to whoever's watching this, to lie to the author or whatever. Because that would do too much damage, I think, because, you know, if I just say, oh, it was a great story, it was hot because it had these two middle-aged guys and they were fucking, well, no one was at home, and then they had the secret game interlude and they never talked about it again. Because there's more going on there. And it's definitely, there's more going on there because I'm not picking it up, not because the story doesn't tell me. And yeah, and that's how I look at the story. The lovely illustrations in blue color blues are by Alpha Zero. Yeah. If I didn't forget to put that in. And I feel bad for it, especially because okay, so I forgot to mention, because a lot of these stories is so yeah. And so yeah, I feel really bad because this one is signed with to Reyfar. Thanks for reading, and it's like, oh man, I feel like a complete arsehole because I didn't really, like, I read it but I didn't read it, and yeah, and I was just like, oh man, I feel like, because I love Whyte Kyell's work. I love his stories. His story in Heat 7, no, not Heat 7, it's fucking Fan 7, the For Planet Bad Dog Books anthology. That one is, I don't think I'll ever forget that one. It's really cool. It's definitely a memorable piece. And yeah, so, that's why I feel bad about it. Yeah, so let's Flea Collar Blues. It's cool. I think probably maybe your mileage might vary or something, but you know, don't trust me on this shit. I'm wrong. Next up is Tired by Televassi. Who, like, okay, so I kind of forgot he was in it until I got to this, and I'm like, oh yeah, shit. Like, despite having, like, you know, extended conversation with him that, like, Texas Ferry Fiesta, he mentioned this, and his story in Gods with Fur, and they, like, look, I'm not saying that wolves have kind of a superiority complex and a one-track mind, but you know, he's a wolf, and all his stories are to do with wolves, so especially Fenrir, like, wolves got a problem. Yeah, no, this was a good poem. I think it ties well with oh fuck, what was the title of the story? Was it Fenrir's Curse or Fenrir's Saga? It was Fenrir's something. It's in Gone with Fur. Whatever, look it up. No, I'm not gonna look it up. Fuck you. It ties well with that. Well, it's not necessarily the same character of Fenrir that Televassi is writing, but it suits the same author mindset, if that makes sense. It fits well in that theming. Yeah, no, I do like this poem. Yeah, I do like the whole what was it? Yeah, the whole thing is that they've got him bound, but they're also binding his pride by seducing and intercoursing with him on a daily basis to stop him from fighting his shackles. Yeah, it's a pretty cool kind of twist on the whole Fenrir mythos, which I don't know much about, but I'm pretty sure Televassi, you know, knows every fucking book on the subject. Yeah. Last up, To the Victor, The Spoils by Ocean Tigrox, illustrated by Shinigami Girl. Okay, so I'm gonna say this before I forget it. So, like, oh, is it this next page? No, the next page. It's like, I was reading the story and I got to here and I looked at illustration. I'm like, oh, that looks like Shinigami Girl's artwork, like style. And then, like, wait, is it illustrated by Shinigami Girl? And I flip back. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. So this is one that I want to go back to. Like, I wouldn't say I didn't get it as much as Blue Collar Blues, but I think there's a lot to be gained if I look at it with a fresher mindset for whatever reason. Because there's a lot of cool things I picked up with the fact that they're Afghan hounds and the kind of tricks in their society and such. And then the fin at the end, spoilers. It would be nice to have that going in and then following the story and seeing how he's worked that in with the body of the story and stuff like that. I don't know why I'm saying he. I should say they. So, I guess I'll talk a little bit about Ocean Tigrox. So, like a couple people in the fandom. So, I know their name a lot, and sadly, I haven't really read anything, but their name's very familiar for whatever reason. And so, what little I know about Ocean Tigrox, besides, was it 7 months ago, 8 months ago, when I put out a tweet saying, like, oh, I'm going to read and talk about all the heats one after the other, and I hope to be done in a couple of months, and here I am, like, more than half a year later, and I fucking only just finished it. Dude. And he was saying, something like, I can't remember his exact words, but, like, I look forward to hearing about mine. I was thinking, like, well, when I get there, because after the fact, because I didn't realise that, I really thought he was probably published in Heat sooner than Heat 14. They were published in Heat 14 sooner than Heat 14. And I don't know why, like, I think I have something in my head that I thought they were more well known than what I think they are. Because I know them well, kind of. More than I don't know. I'm rambling here. But yeah, so they seem like amazing people. I really want to read more of their work. I definitely do. So yeah, to the victim of spoilers. Okay. So I'm gonna preface was the whole time I was reading the story, I was just thinking about June, and I couldn't help it. Like, I was just thinking about June. So it's a pretty intriguing setting. So, Coltrane, who's this blue Afghan hound, blue third Afghan hound, who's been training for this race his whole life, which stops the fighting and the warring between the city-states. Is that they've settled that any disputes will be decided through this race, and the winner of the race decides or gets to take the noble-blooded princess in marriage. And the whole so I don't really want to go spoilers with this one. Oops. But I'm not sure how to talk about it without spoilers. Like, I think I had the same mindset when I was going through it, when I was reading it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go spoilers with this one. Fuck it. So say no spoilers, I'm gonna say it's a really intriguing story, it's really cool, and I think, definitely flip through it sooner rather than later if you've got Heat 14. And yeah, no, super cool, super great, and lovely illustrations by Shinigami Girl. Okay, so to cut into spoilers, so hopefully, I'll chuck in a timestamp after spoilers, because I kind of don't want to spoil this one. So the whole June thing I was thinking is a real reveal towards the end is that there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes with the race and the festival than Coltrane knew, and he's aghast by this idea, and one of the problems I had is that I thought it was a very weak character moment for Coltrane dealing with that, because coming off June and the whole thing to June is where it's kind of similar. The whole kind of warring between the families and how the warring is done, where it's very kind of diplomatical and behind the scenes and subterfuge and whatever, and how the children are raised to fulfill certain roles, and it was very kind of weird to have. I'm pretty sure it was just this. Okay, this is the questionable thing. Like, is it just Coltrane or is it just how they're raising their children? And I'm not sure where I stand on that fence. And then, because yeah, it's like, okay, so even more spoilers. So the climax of the story towards the end, Coltrane, he was looking forward to winning this race. He wanted to win the race so he could throw away the shackles of his life, the whole cage he's in, because his whole life is about this race and winning this race. And then, it turns out to be just like a caveman in a cage kind of deal. And then he fights against this, and then it's like, surely this. There's a lot of questions. If you start thinking about this world, which is incredibly cool, it's like, well, okay, so if it's been going on for a while, how has this not happened sooner? And then if it's happened sooner, then how have they not decided to... How's this not, like, something they've thought about that may happen? Like, this rejection to the morals of the world, or the standards of the elite, or the whatever. Is like... And that, all these questions circling my mind, and I think fought against my enjoyment of it towards the end. I'm being a bit coy here, but yeah, and it's just like, and then I just with that in mind, it's just like, I really felt Coltrane was lesser of a character, but on the flip side, like, I reckon when I go back to it, when I'm in a more engrossing mood, I'll look back for the little things, hopefully, and find that Coltrane's a stronger character. But for now, I think it was a little bit weak for, I guess, my tastes compared to. I can't even remember the kid's name in June. The Maldib, or whatever his real name was before he became whatever, the prophet, the emperor. I don't know. I've only read the first June, sorry. I should, if I want to talk about June, I'll get my older brother on here. So, I want to talk about, so before I wrap this all up, I want to talk about how pretty much this whole anthology and a lot of the stories and the poems and everything in it and comics is that they're definitely sticking with me, and a lot of the stories that I know for whatever reason didn't sit well with me, I'm going to go back to, whether in a month's time, a year's time, and I'm going to take away a lot more. I'm going to enjoy them. And I think with trying to read so much and having so much shit interests of mine compared to games and videos and podcasts and whatever, I think that's some weird kind of high praise for me, is that when something sticks with me, I think, especially when I want to go back to it, I think that's the highest kind of praise I can offer something. So for these stories that I didn't like now, I know I'll like later. To make myself feel better. I really truly, I mean, so, yeah. Alright, so, okay, before I finish, I forgot, so Heat 14 has a crossword in it. I didn't do it. I kind of want to do it when I just want to, I'll probably forget about it, but I want to do it later, in my own time. But yeah, so, oh my god, so the Afterglow illustration in Heat 14 is fucking adorable. Who did it? It's by Koru Art, twitter.com/artkoru. Oh my god, fucking... yeah, so Heat 14 is brought to us by Managing Editor Darkend, Artistic Director Tegan Gavitt, Artistic Director Alopex, Layout Designer Tegan Gavitt, Executive Editor Alopex, Chief Publisher Jeff Eddy, and the cover illustration is by Nomax. The short story, Those Magnificent Women in Their Flying Machines, is by Darkend, illustrated by Sophie Cabra. How to Ruin a Friendship by Kyell Gold, illustrated by Donryu, the comic. Bad Connection, the short story, by Jacob M. Dawson, illustrated by Maristic. Instincts, the poem, by Tempe Okun, illustrated by Dark Natasha. West, the short story, by Slipwolf, illustrated by Sabretooth Ermine. Naughty Words 2, is that the fucking poem? Oh, that's the crossword. It's by Tegan Gavitt, illustrated by Golden Druid. Oh, so we know how to bloom for the crossword. Three Foxes, the poem, by Jonathan Thurston Howl, illustrated by Kadaf. Flame Above the Waters comic by Kyma and Zeigler. Cell Game, the short story, by Kandrel, illustrated by Alistair Wildfire. Full Dip, the comic, by Ishaway Freidstead. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. He works amazing. Top to Bottom... Bottom to Top by Moogle, illustrated by Uana. Bottom to Top, the poem, by Moogle Mog, illustrated by Uana. Blue Color Blues by Whyte Yote, the short story, illustrations by Alpha Zero. Tide by Televassi, illustrated by Cadmium T. To the Victor the Spoils, short story, by Ocean Tigrox, illustrations by Shinigami Girl. Afterglow Husky by Kurat. Heat 14 is 2017 by Sofawolf Press, and I am 22 days out of last year from reading it. Heat is published yearly and welcomes the submission of stories, art, comics, and ideas for future issues. For full guidelines, please see our website at sofawolf.com or contact us by email at heat@sofawolf.com. And oh boy, yeah, so thanks again, Zia, for getting me here. Thanks again for the signatures that Zia got and for the people that signed it. So that was Slipwolf, his cool signature. Kadaf, thanks Kadaf for your signature and cool message. And shout out to Mog Moogle for his signature and cool business card. Shout out to Whyte Yote and his signature.